Far North Queensland Auslan staff acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional owners and ongoing custodians of the lands on which our schools are built and where learning takes place. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, and recognise their strong connection to country and ways of learning over thousands and thousands of years. Thank you, Natasha. To set the scene for today, I draw your attention to the State Schools Improvement Strategy 2022 to 2026. Every student succeeding, and in this case, every deaf and hard of hearing student. Today, we're really focusing on the principle of precision, where we're collecting data-based evidence so that we can do the right work and work right with our deaf and hard of hearing students to ensure their positive well-being and learning outcomes. This links in beautifully with the statewide deaf and hard of hearing framework, where today we'll be specifically looking on how we can improve language and literacy through provision of appropriate pedagogy. So to date, we've had 4 Twilight Sessions. During these past 4 sessions, we've explored your support team, who you can call on from a regional or statewide perspective. We've talked about knowing your students' communication mode, and we've taken a deep dive into the statewide deaf and hard of hearing framework, which really shapes our work. The last session was about knowing how your student learns, and this was done through pedagogical pathway profiling. That's a very important one, and if you have missed any of these, I do suggest that you go back and take a look at them. We've provided the recorded links in documents that were sent to you, so nobody will miss out. Our learning outcomes today are on the screen. Really, today we're helping you to know what is the best pedagogy for your student, and we've got a decision-making flowchart to help guide you. And we'll explore the explicit strategies that benefit the majority of deaf and hard of hearing students. And those really include things like vocabulary instruction, the language experience approach and readers. Then we'll take a deeper dive into some of the strategies that are specifically for unimodal deaf students, those students who learn through Auslan to access English. One of the best ways to stay up to date with what's happening in the deaf and hard of hearing area in the department is through the deaf discussion list. You can find out about upcoming professional development opportunities, job opportunities, and actually any new developments in deaf education. The list is open to all staff and is accessible through one portal. And you can see on the screen there instructions of how you can register for the deaf discussion list. During the presentation, you will see on some of the slides these 2 icons. One represents unimodal and one represents bimodal. So if you see those on a slide, it will tell you which strategies are appropriate for which students. It's a quick reference for you. So it's important for you to know your students' language and literacy levels in English and in Auslan, in spoken language and listening. So this is where you need to work with your principal advisor, Auslan, to help assess the student and really define what level they're at so we can move forward. One of the phenomena of Auslan is that it has no written form. So it's really important that we take written language samples of a student's written expression to see what levels they're at. And sometimes for deaf students, their written English can look a little bit like fruit salad and sometimes not so yummy. So what we do is we sample their writing and then we do a functional grammar analysis. And that really shows us what parts of speech, what grammar rules, what sentence structures and sentence patterns the student is using and what we need to focus on. And in the handouts that are provided with this session, I've given some more detail about this and some resources that could help. Hearing technology. For most of our students these days, they are either wearing hearing aids or are cochlear implanted. Even if they are unimodal, they may be using cochlear implants or hearing aids. So it is important, especially for the younger students, that hearing technology is checked on a daily basis. Research has shown that it can be up to 60% of the class time that devices aren't working properly. So really, it's important to make sure that that pathway to learning is working appropriately. And we suggest using the LMH, the Ling-Medal-Hewitt test in the morning and testing each ear separately to see if the child can detect those 10 sounds that are mentioned. In future Twilight sessions, we'll go into more detail on how to administer this test on a daily basis. But this could be the role of your educational interpreter to carry this out in the mornings before you start work. The next important thing that is good for all deaf and hard of hearing students is to explicitly teach vocabulary. Vocabulary is a predictor of reading comprehension. And for many of our deaf and hard of hearing students, their vocabulary is delayed. And it could be that they have just missed out on seeing or hearing words, or they may have family members around them that have limited ability in Auslan to explain and expand vocab. So for most of our deaf and hard of hearing students, an integral part of the intervention is to explicitly teach vocab. I don't think it should be assumed that a student has command over vocab, especially in new topics. So we can teach vocabulary through using word maps where you have the target word. You could include a little video of the sign there. You have a definition used in a sentence, and then you have the opposite meaning of what the word does not mean, and then an illustration. That's for younger students and for older students who are language delayed. So it's not just about teaching a word list. We have to put it in context and connect. And that's where semantic webs can really benefit a deaf student to really see how things are connected and to specifically explain all of the features of a new word. So for example, for that word car, we would teach the car has wheels, it has lights, it's part of a transport system, it has a horn. So we would unpack it very specifically and really relate it to other concepts. One strategy that works really well is called fast mapping. And I'll draw your attention to this picture here. Whoops. Oh dear. Apologies. Draw your attention to this picture here. Point to the very rare orange prickly cactus. So how did you work out what was the orange prickly cactus? Clearly you knew that was a car and that was a shoe. So the unknown was the orange prickly cactus. So that's called fast mapping, where you present the child with two known and one known, and then ask them to identify the unknown. So you're actually teaching them a way to learn. When we talked about vocabulary being more than a word list, I just wanted to show you an example of the Kali, which is included in your resource materials, but this is just a snapshot of how you can present a picture, say it would be a pencil, and then you ask those questions that cover the aspects, the function, the description, parts of it, location, category, association, and composition. And you do this for, I think it's about 10 items. And after the 10 items are completed, you may see a pattern. Sometimes the patterns that we see could be the student mostly knows the function of the item and can describe it, but rarely knows the category. And this is a section that is often the case with deaf and hard of hearing students, that they can identify individual items, but may not know the category that they belong to. So for example, they can identify a rubber ducky, a doll, a toy car, but when you ask them what's a name for all of them, they're unable to say that they are all toys. So that's an important area that needs to be explicitly taught when we're teaching vocabulary. Now, this is a great resource, Vocabulary for Success. It's for science specifically, and it looks at the complicated vocabulary from Year 3 science up to Year 6. It's available through the Ed Studio for the rest of this year until Ed Studio is phased out, and it's a complete package of resources. So it has picture cards, teacher instruction booklets, PowerPoints, games. It has the signs in Auslan. So it's suitable for unimodal and bimodal. If you don't want to use the Auslan signs, that's also fine, but there's a lot of resources there that are pre-made that are waiting for you to download and use in your classroom. As you all will be aware, the science curriculum has a lot of very complex vocab. So it's really important to prepare the student through pre-teaching some of the vocab. An important area for our deaf and hard of hearing students is to provide language experience approaches and then to develop language experience readers. So this is a good strategy for all students, but particularly important for our deaf students, especially those students who arrive at prep with very delayed language, spoken language or Auslan or both. They're not ready for formal programs and need to have their language boosted before they can start formal literacy programs. So one way to do this is firstly to, as I've said before, understand the language levels of the students so we know exactly how to target them in these activities and we don't waste any time. Prepare an activity that's fun and motivating, that you know the student is going to be captivated by, and have that activity. Take photos during that activity. Then use the photos that you take to put together a little booklet. Now you can use Book Creator. Book Creator is one of the Apple apps that is very, very easy to use. And you can easily put a Auslan video in there and unpack what's happening in the picture in Auslan. And then knowing the students' English, you can either label the picture or you can write a sentence, a complete sentence in the English that matches the student's language literacy level. So with younger children, we find the best way for these to be used is to get things that the student is interested in, motivated to use. And after the materials are made, then they can share them with other students, with their family, and they can be read over and over again, providing that really important practice. I found in secondary schools that Book Creator is a little bit juvenile for them and they much prefer PowerPoint to make their language experience readers. And it is just as motivating for secondary students and empowers them to be able to feel that they can do something and that they can read the material. It is important for our unimodal students to have a language experience approach, as there is no written form of Auslan. And for these students, they may not connect that something that is signed in Auslan means what it does in English. So the language experience readers really bridge from Auslan to English and are an essential part of the students' program. I thought I would just give you an example of a language experience reader that was done with a Year 4 student who is currently using mostly subjects and verbs together. He is fascinated with weather. So leading up to the making of his language experience reader, we planned to have a session where we introduced words that he needed to know when talking about the weather. So we introduced things like lightning and rain, stay home, stay safe. And we had a fun activity with some animals pretending to go outside the house when it was raining and there was lightning and they got struck by the lightning. So I'll just quickly share with you that reader. You can see, this is a slide from the reader, that we've inserted the Auslan into each slide on a PowerPoint presentation. So the student can play the Auslan and then link this to the English words on the screen. So I'll play the Auslan there. Let's call this student George, and you'll see the person signing using a sign name to identify George, the reporter. So we'll take a quick run through. I won't show all of the slides, but just to give you an idea of how a language experience reader can look for a unimodal student. I don't care about rain and lightning. This student absolutely loved this presentation and played it again and again, took it home, and even requested that they make an additional language experience reader about a different animal. Another resource that is available for you to help connect isolated deaf Auslan using students in the secondary setting are weekly videos that are made by Gavin Rose Mundy, and they're captioned and voiced and are advertised on the Deaf Discussion list every week with a full list of all the videos that have been made. And in this video, Gavin is talking about NDIS and provides explanation about what NDIS is and how deaf people can access that service. This has been going on since the start of COVID, and the resource builds over time and is really quite extensive. It has things like deaf jokes, what's happening in Ukraine, interviews with deaf adults. Really a fabulous resource that you should take advantage of if you have secondary aged deaf students. One of the other things that I would like to mention is that our deaf students often miss what idioms mean or what colloquial language in their classroom or home environment means. So one of the things that's really quite a positive thing to do is to teach an idiom a week, or to teach a colloquial language saying that is used in the school community or the home community, so that the students can feel a part of the community they live in and understand what is being said. You know, these things have to be explicitly taught, because when you say, I've got butterflies in my stomach, a deaf person can be quite confused and think that there's butterflies flying around in their stomach and not realize the deeper meaning that you're feeling nervous about something that's happening. Now we get down to a program that is really specifically addressing the needs of a unimodal student. So ThinkSpelling Our Way to Reading is an evidence-based program targeting our students who use Auslan to achieve English literacy. It's a reading program for unimodal students. For those students who can't learn A says ah, this program is an amazing program for them. And we've seen students really turn around after this program is delivered. This program was adapted from an American program and now has all of the resources in Auslan. There's target picture cards, bingo cards, writing sheets, and reading materials. To be able to deliver this program, you need to undergo some training, and your principal advisor for Auslan will be able to give you more information about that. Every week now, we have a virtual wellbeing program for secondary students. This is helping to connect isolated Auslan using students, bimodal and unimodal students in a secondary setting across the state. So these are great sessions, and it's based on the Australian curriculum. And we've done this because our secondary aged deaf and hard of hearing students are at high risk of mental health problems. So this is a way that over 100 deaf and hard of hearing students over 2 days each week can come together, and the sessions are facilitated by deaf people, deaf teachers and deaf Auslan language models. It's a fabulous program, and I really recommend, if you have a secondary age student, that you get in contact with your principal advisor for Auslan and have your students involved in this program. Your school that has an Auslan supported student is eligible for Auslan short courses. These are for staff. They're 8-week courses from an introductory level up to a level 3. You apply for these courses the term before, and you must have a minimum of 5 participants and a maximum of 15. It's at no cost to the school and really can have an amazing impact when more people in the school community can sign and talk to our deaf students. There are many resources available, and these are available on one portal. If you look under the Deaf and Hard of Hearing statewide service, you'll find these resources and links to them. There's many ed studios that you can access an abundance of resources. So this is a quick walk through some of our explicit teaching strategies. Today, we ask you to please complete the feedback survey. It's really important for us and helps us to get better at what we're doing. And once you have completed your survey, you will receive the certificate. We'll now stop the recorded session and have an opportunity for some interactive discussion. Thank you for your attention.